You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast.
What is happening, everybody? Happy, what are we? Monday. It's Monday. Monday. Hey, we had a great, don't you love it when good triumphs over evil? And last night, that's exactly what took place. The halftime show, which I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch as it was going on because I was doing other things, and I don't watch Super Bowl. But I did watch it much later, and it was a great show. I'm so glad it was as successful as it was. It blew my expectations out of the water. What a lot of people out there were basically saying was like, hey, if it hits 3 million views, that is considered a real threat to the NFL. And obviously, we're now at well over 30 million views across multiple streaming apps out there, and probably a lot more. And that's not even real views. When we look at most of these views were taking place at parties. I mean, there was dozens and dozens of people out there, but it was such a huge success. I know, number one, Charlie Kirk would be proud. TPUSA should definitely be proud of what they did. And they are bringing real competition to the Super Bowl party. And we're going to go through some of the lyrics and some of the other things that we got going on with that, and how the Super Bowl party has become just a satanic performance of the left. And I'm glad to see that we have a much, much better alternative. And that's what TPUSA is doing. That's what TPUSA has done over its entire inception since 2012. That's what Charlie Kirk's vision of TPUSA was all about. And that's why they killed him. And what I'm really glad to see is, number one, everything that Candace Owens is doing is not effective. It's not working the way that she would like it to. And number two, that they are continuing on Charlie's legacy even after his death. And they should just be completely proud of what they were able to accomplish last night. I know I am, and we'll get a lot more into that. But I want to say hi to everybody over in the chat. I see a lot of people. I know they're talking about Tim Dillon's testimony right now. I think that might be interesting. We might go over that. Going into this, I didn't know for sure if Candace Owens was actually going to stream today. I had heard that she wasn't. Apparently, she is going to be streaming basically right about now. We'll get over there when we get good and ready. I'm still mentally steeling myself to listen to her for the next 30 minutes. According to her title, Fort Huachuca is back on the table. I can't wait to hear what nonsense she has to say about that. But we will. We're going to go over a bunch of good things before we get to the bad things and all things that are Candace. I know they were talking about Tim Dillon getting death threats, or Seth Dillon rather. Sorry if I said Tim Dillon. Seth Dillon, rather. Two completely different people. But Seth Dillon getting death threats. And 100%. Anybody that goes against Candace Owens, I've received death threats. I know many other, even small creators have received death threats. And all they do is lie, smear, defame, slander. That's the only thing that they can do, because they don't have facts on their side, and they have no ability to argue anything that's going on and stay within a fact-based argument whatsoever. They have to immediately resort to all kinds of things. Number one, you're getting paid by TPUSA, you're getting paid by Israel, you're a Fed. That's their argument, which it is none. And as a matter of fact, I got a short video that I'll play for us that kind of encapsulates a lot of the stuff that I see in general, but especially on Twitter for sure. I do want to say hi to Texas Mother Bird. Good to see you. Mama Owlbear. Good to see you. I Rule 2530. Scott Brown, who says his name is Gary. Sounds suspect. Grinsnitch. I always see you on X. Good to see you, buddy. One thing I didn't do. Let me go live on X or Instagram over here. Going live on Instagram as well. You got to do that separately. It's such a pain in the butt. Disney up, Boiler up. Who else we have here? Bunch of folks. Cloudy PDX. Marge Strong. William Hicks. And again, for those of you just tuning in, make sure you guys say hi. Make sure you like, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, down in the description below is a link. You can become a member. I am going to do a members only stream at some point this week. The other thing that, again, if you want to support us and support this channel, you can go become a subscriber over on X. I think it's $6 a month or something like that. That really goes a long way to support what we do here, and we really appreciate that. I did want to correct the record. The other day I said that we were able to do a members only on X as well. Like, apparently that's in the works. It's not implemented yet. So I won't be able to do that. So I want to correct that and make sure that you guys know that. I'm trying to figure out how to make that work. I don't know a way to link that between StreamYard, which I use, YouTube, Rumble and YouTube are the easiest. And this goes back to, I hate YouTube for all the reasons that we've all discussed before. It's, owned by Google. It's a leftist propagandist tool without a doubt. But with that being said, it's the easiest system out there to use for sure. I wonder how many of you guys actually watched the halftime show last night. It was a really, really good show. Better than I expected, to be honest with you. And much better than Bad Bunny, which I've only watched clips of that. But we're going to share that a little bit, and I want to go over a couple elements of this with you guys real quick. So first of all, let's take a look at the numbers on these things, because right now we're looking at over 20 million views on Turning Point USA channel. Then you get down here and there's lots of other people that, basically restream this stuff. We have Magno News. They have almost 1 million views there. And then we look at Charlie Kirk channel. That's 3.7 million views. And if you go through, there's hundreds of, I would say probably over 100 million views of clips that people are sharing in different things. So that's easy to see there. Then you go over to, I know there was 3.5, 4 million views over on Rumble, and there was all kinds of different streaming services, including Daily Wire, that were also streaming the halftime show. So it was a giant success for TPUSA, much more than the 3 million views they said would be considered competition or that would be a threat to the NFL. And again, when the NFL continues to promote entertainers like Bad Bunny, who's anti-American, who is, in my opinion, satanic, that's not what we want. And the fact that they are so intentionally doing that with one of the most widely viewed events in history, period, worldwide, every single year, I think that tells you all that you need to know about our media and what side of the coin they're on with that. The other big issue with this is, of course, Candace Owens was completely pissed about that. She was completely pissed about the fact that that TPUSA was able to successfully have such an event. And she was telling people to boycott it. And I want to talk about what she's telling people to boycott. Because here's the thing, folks. I don't care if she says that she's Charlie's best friend, then she knows what Charlie's vision for America was. And what he wanted to win was the culture. And that is where we are losing at every step, for sure. And I don't care if she thinks that TPUSA is behind Charlie's murder, which I don't believe that she believes that. I think it's all a complete BS slander. She's spiteful. She's evil. I talked about it last night on X multiple times. So I don't think she's genuine in any of this, but she does want to destroy TPUSA because, she hates TPUSA. But if she really believed, and she really was Charlie's best friend, she would know that Charlie would love what TPUSA was able to pull off last night. The fact that they're going head to head with the Super Bowl, and of course, yeah, Bad Bunny got 120 million views, but not really, right? That's not 120 million people that are tuning in just to watch Bad Bunny. When TPUSA is getting 30 plus million views, and those are still coming in, people are talking 40, 50 million views, and that's probably what it's going to be about when it's all said and done. When you have to stop watching the Super Bowl and then go over here to watch something else entirely, that's a challenge, right? To get people to do that. And the fact that they were able to do that and do it so successfully, and knowing next year will be even much more successful, that's a hell of a feat. So I think they should be extremely proud of what they did. I know, like I said, Charlie would be proud, but the point here is that when Candace Owens is telling people to stay, completely boycott TPUSA, and I don't know, she did speak out a little bit against Bad Bunny and said, hey, that's not a great option. I'll give her credit for that. I don't want to twist that in any way, because we're going to continue to be honest on this channel, because they sure can't do it. But the other thing I want you guys to know is I want to share this little piece, and this whole stream will probably be demonetized because of this. And I don't really care, because I want you guys to see this, because if you haven't watched Kid Rock's his performance last night, which I suggest you go watch the whole thing, but we're going to watch a small clip of this. I want you to see this portion right here.
If you got a dream, chase it, 'cause a dream won't chase you back. If you're gonna love somebody, hold them as long and as strong and as close as you can. Take care, take care. You know, I awoke one Sunday morning all alone with this song stuck in my head. And in that moment, something or someone spoke to me. They said there was still a verse that needed to be written for this song, and to get up to write it down. There's a book that's sitting in your house somewhere that could use some dusting off. There's a man who died for all our sins, hanging from the cross. You can give your life to Jesus, and He'll give you a second chance till you can't. Take care. If you got a chance, take it.
Folks, I want you to kind of take that in. You know, what he did right there, he just shared the gospel. And this is Kid Rock. This is a guy that sang a lot of bad songs going 20, 25 years ago. I don't know where he is spiritually, but all I can do is take him at his word and what he's actually doing. All we're doing is going by his actions. And when he's getting up there talking about the fact that Jesus died for your sins and He's going to give you another chance and to give your life to Jesus, like, that is more gospel sharing that TPUSA has done in that 30-second clip than I've ever seen that Candace Owens has done. Candace Owens never talks about the blood of Jesus. She never talks about the salvation. She never talks about the gospel. She talks about, oh, God's real sometimes. And again, it's always this, it always comes across to me as mysticism, not Christianity. And I think that is what needs to be focused on here. When you juxtapose this compared to what we're getting ready to watch, and the hate, the destructive behavior of what we're getting ready to watch in a few minutes, like, you can't even compare the two. And you can tell exactly where she stands on all of this. And it's not on the side of good, because what she's doing is evil. The way that she's attacking TPUSA, the way that she's attacking Charlie Kirk's legacy, the way that she's attacking Erica, the way that she's attacking Erica's mother at this point, insane. Somebody talked a little bit about the tribute at the end, and I think that's worth watching. So let's just fast forward just a little bit, and let's go ahead and play that.
I want to honor God in all that I do. I want to be a great husband, a great father. I want to serve this country. I want to try to continue to lead this movement and to speak truth and to never lie. To stop thinking about yourself all the time and instead think about what you should do to help other people and to defend this country above yourself.
I'm so inspired. This army of freedom fighters, we're going to be around for the next 100, 200 years because we know in the end our ideas will win.
God should be the most important thing in your life. But then beyond that, it's getting married, having children, building families.
My kids are my most important thing in my world. My wife and my kids and my relationship with God, the top 3 things.
And the more often that you choose the deep, the difficult, but the right path over the easy path is one that will reward you, your family, and this beautiful nation.
All right. And there was other tributes throughout that show, folks. I have watched the whole thing. Very powerful, very moving, much better than anything that we could have watched come Super Bowl during the Super Bowl halftime show, without a doubt. So a lot going on with that. Let me see real quick. Just looking through your guys' comments. There was a lot of symbolism of him being reintroduced using his actual name. He was sure to show that there was a Kid Rock, and now there's a Robert Ritchie. I agree with that. There was a lot of stuff going on. I don't even know. Pause this. There was a lot of people talking about the lip syncing. And you know what? I don't even care. I don't care. It's not like we don't know that almost every single concert these days is they're lip syncing. I mean, like, who cares? We know what's going on with that. And I don't know if that was symbolism, if that was just a technical error. Does it really matter? It was a great show. It was an absolute great show. And then, of course, when he got on the guitar and actually started playing Till It Isn't, which I definitely recommend that you guys go download, he was clearly singing live. There was no doubt about that. So I don't really care about all that stuff. And it felt a little bit, and I could be wrong, people were trying to make excuses. Like, who cares? It's people that are trying to detract from what actually was accomplished last night, and they're going to come up with any little thing, and people were saying it sucked and it wasn't as good as Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny sung the whole thing in Spanish. Like how, where in America and when in America do we get to a point to where that even makes sense to anybody? And we can go through the lyrics, which I posted on my X account. You guys can go check that out, or just look it up. Just look up what our kids are listening to. And I think we need to realize so many of these artists are so anti-American. They're so anti-Christian. They're, quite frankly, satanic. And these are the things that our kids are listening to over and over and over again. And they're being programmed. Make no doubt about it. Like, my kids, they grew up in a Christian home. We've been really good about going to church as of late, and we used to do it a lot. And it wasn't until Charlie Kirk's death, I was like, you know what? We got to start going to church regularly. My youngest son was baptized probably less than a week after Charlie Kirk's death. And we made a recommitment to make sure that we're putting God first and foremost in our home and our family and our business and everything that we do. And of course, we're not perfect in things. And, we make mistakes like everybody else. But the point here is, like, your kids, and even though my kids who are believers, like, I am proud of the faith that my kids demonstrate on a daily basis. But if you're letting your kids listen to some of this music, they are going to be programmed into something and believe things that you don't want them to believe. That's not good for them to believe. No matter how much you put into them, like, if you allow that, you're taking it all away. And at a minimum, what's happening is all of these bad behaviors are becoming normalized in their mind. And you got to get them away from that. Like, I can't stress enough how powerful, like, we know how powerful music is. But when it comes to the ability to, whether you want to call it brainwashing, programming, indoctrinating, like, music is extremely powerful in that arena. And we need to make sure that we are paying attention to what we put in our own ears, and much more so our kids, or they're going to be something that we don't recognize come 10, 15 years later, and educate them about those exact things. Like, hey, look, it's really important that you understand that you shouldn't listen to terrible lyrics and music just because it sounds good. Like, we got to be careful about that. All right, let me just jump over here to see if Candace is actually playing. Oh, yep, we're playing. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead, share this tab instead. We're going to back this thing up just a little bit, see where we're at with this, and I can't wait to see what she has to say about all of this.
That much. I'm also a Shakira stan, so I thought her and J-Lo had a fun halftime performance. I'm not really one of these people who are naturally averse to culture. I also like and listen to Spanish music, as you guys know. Mark Anthony, that's why I had to come out for my boy. When they were saying stuff about him and what he did at a wedding after 11 p.m. No, he should not be responsible for that as a Latino man. I like the old school stuff, Aventura, the old Mark Anthony music. Hasta ayer, hasta ayer. I grew up listening to all of it. So when Bad Bunny was announced for the Super Bowl, I was like, okay, let's see what he does. I do not know one Bad Bunny song. I'm going to be honest. I've been very clear with you guys. I am not cool or hip anymore, just like I don't know any of Sabrina Carpenter's music. I'm not trying to stay up with the culture, but I know enough to know that he's very popular. Okay. Now, the pros of his performance, I'm going to say something good about it. I actually thought the set design was really cool. It was one of the cooler ones that I've seen in a very long time. I love that it looked like a little pueblo, a little Spanish town, that the mercado, the bodega. And to be clear, I think it felt obviously very authentic to him and how he grew up, but not just to him and how he grew up, but also in America. If you guys don't know that, this is how a lot that looks familiar to me and the way that I grew up. Like, you know, the corner bodega. It's a real thing. And I thought very obviously that's what he was trying to convey, is his own experience, because that's what artists do. And by the way, like I said, all around the United States, these communities exist. The performers and the dancers did a very great job. You could tell that they rehearsed a lot. They were not just winging it. And I actually quite enjoyed the little electrical line thing that they were doing. I thought it was clever and it was fun. Now, the downside is that it was not in English. It was not in English. And therefore, the audience could not emotionally connect. If you were not a Spanish speaker, you could not emotionally connect to that performance. It was really all in Spanish, save for Lady Gaga's portion when she was sort of doing the bad salsa, which was very American. You know, she wasn't exactly hips don't lie. And I was like, okay, now, is that Bad Bunny's fault? Obviously not, because he was booked. And he is very clear. English is his second language. If you watch his interviews, he kind of speaks Spanglish. He's learning more English now. His music is exclusively in Spanish. So the expectation, who are you actually upset with for booking this performance? I agree that it would be nice to have an English speaking halftime. That makes sense because the majority, everyone.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense not to have an English. As a matter of fact, people should be outraged about that. But I don't even care the fact that it was in Spanish. Folks, I want you to come over here with me real quick to my X account. I'm going to go over here to my profile real quick. And we are going to take a look at what is actually happening in those lyrics. And I want to pull those up and show you, because that's what we should be upset about. So Megan Basham posted this. This is apparently was one of the songs that they sing. Real G guiding new generation with the OG one. Get horny and versatile, more slutty than Betty Boop. The one that got you horny, mommy, was you. This, I'm not even going to say it. You guys can see it. P with D, D with A. Go on. Like, this is what they're playing for our kids at a halftime show. That's what's going on here. That's what we should be upset about. Here's the second verse. What do you want? I want to grind on you. The ecstasy is really already kicking in. This is this is what they're playing at the halftime show with kids in the audience. I mean, luckily they couldn't understand. Most of them couldn't understand because we are an English speaking nation. But again, this is what's being played, folks. So I don't really care about the fact that it's Spanish, although that shouldn't be a thing. The fact that this is what we're promoting as Americans. And this is, by the way, this is like the Spanish-speaking rest of the world. They see America playing this craziness at the biggest sporting event, the biggest TV event that we have every single year. Like, that's where the outrage should be. And I'm not sure if she's going to touch on that or not. hopefully she does, because it'd be crazy for her not to. So
English, but he didn't book himself. Okay. Actually, I looked into it. The person that controls who gets to perform at the halftime is Jay-Z for some reason. Jay-Z in partnership with the NFL. Jay-Z doesn't speak Spanish, but Jay-Z booked him. And for a very long time, it's been clear that Jay-Z's got some sort of a relationship with the feds. I tend to believe a lot of the stuff that Kanye said. And so, like I said, this feels a bit like, let's get both sides warring with one another. Now, in terms of whether or not this was a successful performance, well, we'll just look at the raw numbers here. Nielsen estimates that 128 million people watched the Super Bowl game last night, forgetting the halftime performance. That number increased to 135 million viewers during the halftime performance. So people got up and were like, I don't want to watch I'm not watching the whole Super Bowl match, but I'm going to go ahead and tune in to the halftime performance because people are always outraged the next morning and I want to know what they're speaking about. So 7 million more people began tuning in to watch the halftime performance, according to the early reports. So Bad Bunny, objectively, whether you like him or not, he had a successful Super Bowl halftime performance in terms of the metrics. This means that I would say, unnecessary Super Bowl political lines that were.
Yeah, let's put that into perspective. There's lots of folks out there that will tune into the Super Bowl halftime show that are not Super Bowl fans, or they're not football fans, right? And they just want to see what the performance is. So that part is true. But let's also talk about that other part, and that is like half the people there to watch the Super Bowl couldn't give a crap about the halftime show. So a lot of those people, they may keep it up on the screen, but they're also tuning out. And then we have the entire other 40 million or so. Last night, I think it was somewhere around 10 million, probably watched it in real time. 10 million or so that stopped what they were doing, stopped watching the Super Bowl, or changed the channel at their Super Bowl party or whatever it was, and moved over to TPUSA. So that is, again, we can't overstate the success of what that was. I didn't think it'd be nearly as successful as it was.
Drawn by Turning Point USA was not successful in terms of drawing people away from the NFL's viewership. Now, in case you missed it, when Bad Bunny was announced, there was immediately backlash because he has worn a dress, something that I'm very against, because to me, it is obvious why they find these men and they put him in dresses. This gets into theology regarding which he's probably not aware of. If I'm being honest, if I sat down with Bad Bunny and I spoke to him about where this comes from and why they are putting him in a dress to emasculate him, he's not recognizing this as somebody else's faith. It is. I find it to be wrong. It is in essence Kabbalistic and satanic. We've discussed that. But this is the reason that people were immediately outraged. So everyone was saying, oh, it's very obvious what he's going to do. He's going to make the show unnecessarily gay. And because of that, Turning Point USA announced that they would produce an alternative, quote unquote, all-American Super Bowl halftime show. And President Trump tweeted. They had very people all across the political sphere on the Republican side were tweeting about, hey, turn your TV off. No, nobody turned their TV off. We can say no one did that. Actually, the numbers jumped. Okay, but this was their reason that they went into this. Now, Bad Bunny did not, in fact, wear a dress at the Super Bowl. He didn't. Which, like I said, I'm very against that. I don't think we should be intentionally emasculating men. So that leaves us with Turning Point USA's performance. Now, we should be clear, it was a pre-record. Okay, so Bad Bunny was performing live, Turning Point USA pre-recorded, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And so they had time to edit and to present this. Now, I'm going to park aside the artists who actually performed. Kid Rock, Lee Bryce. I actually want to be clear. I love Lee Bryce's music. I went to a Lee Bryce concert here in town. So this is not meant to be a commentary on them, but rather at the audacity of what Turning Point USA did as an organization. Turning Point USA is effectively now running Kamala Harris's presidential campaign.
Dear God, the audacity of what Turning Point USA did. And now Turning Point USA is effectively running Kamala Harris's election campaign. I can't wait to see where this goes.
Okay. No Democrat voted for Kamala Harris, voted for Biden. And then they just said, here, now you get Kamala and we're running her against Donald Trump. But Democrats had to accept that because the DNC machine just had so much money, and they're like, we're just going to make her a thing. That's it. And they ignored the true metrics and just said, this is it. And then they acted aghast and shocked when Kamala Harris did not win. Turning Point USA now has so much money that they believe that similarly they can afford to outright purchase reality. They want you to believe, this is unbelievable, I'm going to walk you through how absurd this is, that when they aired this halftime performance, 6 million concurrent viewers tuned in. Just so you understand what that means. 6 million people at the same time were watching this around the world. That's what concurrent viewership means. So they decided to tune in to this Super Bowl halftime performance. And I want you to listen to that straight from Andrew Colvette's mouth. Let's bring that clip in, Don, if you can.
All right. So I don't even know what Andrew's going to say here. I can't wait to hear it. But here's what she's twisting it into, that they paid for all these views. That's what she's basically saying here. And let me tell you something, to get as many views as they did across the many different platforms that they did. And look, you can just go to X or any other social media platform. You go to Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. Everybody's talking about the TPUSA halftime event. Good, bad, or indifferent, they're talking about it. People have watched it. So for her to sit there and say that they paid for all those views, and I can't wait to hear how she twists Andrew Colvette's words around. We're going to listen to that, but it is absolutely ridiculous. The amount of buzz and fervor that was happening over the TPUSA halftime show was profound. And, you know, she's being completely dishonest. She knows this isn't true, just like everything else that she does.
Andrew, I watched your show. It was great. How did you do? Do you have a sense of how many people watched?
Yeah, it was kind of blew our minds actually a little bit, Brian. And we saw at one point across all the different social channels, we saw over 10 million concurrent views. So that was adding up all of Rumble and all of our partners just on the social side. So, and now the numbers keep trickling in. I mean, right now, as I'm sitting here, YouTube's numbers keep updating. And so we're trying to put it all together. What I can safely say is that we are now over 20 million viewers across just social. So we haven't even gotten our partner broadcasters, their analytics. As you know, sometimes the ratings take a little while, but that's 20 million viewers. And we don't know how many people were gathered together, 3, 4, 10 in a room watching together. So we're going to try and put a final number on that when we can. What we can safely say is over 20 million Americans tuned in to the All-American halftime show tonight.
That's what he can safely say. Now, for people who have been on YouTubers, so to speak, like myself, for more than 10 years, I was just in awe that they were going to try to sell this, that they were going to do what he did with his face and just lie and pretend that 6 million, I think he even at one point says 10 million, but it says 6 million concurrent viewers they had on YouTube alone. Okay. If you know YouTube at all, that's just not true on its face. It's actually, I laughed when I saw, I was like, this is actually crazy. I can't believe they're actually going to try to pull this off. And I'm going to walk you through this so you don't even have to have my background on YouTube to understand why this number is impossible. First and foremost, you can just do this test. What do we have right now? We have 95,000 people that are watching this show. As soon as this show concludes, I want you to see how many views YouTube is going to instantly give it right away. It's probably going to be something like 200,000 to 300,000 views right away as it continues to tabulate. This is a screenshot of their viewership after 6 million people tuned in concurrently at the exact same time. So that was 6 million people watching, like we have 95,000 people watching right now on YouTube. As soon as they finished, look at that 5,839 views. With 175 comments.
Like, I don't even know what she's looking at here. I was watching this in real time as well. I never saw anything like this or where this came from. So I don't know what she's looking at here. 5,839 views. Folks, it was in the millions right off the bat. Like, I don't even know what the point here is she's trying to make, because it's utter bullshit, period. It is.
That is an impossible metric. But 667,000 likes. This is made up. But
and again, I can tell you from a YouTuber perspective, the numbers like when you're looking at the forward facing of YouTube, so what you, the viewer, see. All right. I can look at that and I can see how many views that a video is getting or has gotten right then and there. And then I go to the creator side, the creator studio, and those numbers are much more up to date and they're significantly more. So I have no doubt that at some point in time, like maybe it wasn't updated or whatever else. But again, I even have a hard time buying into that because I was watching this the whole time and I see several people in the chat are saying the exact same thing. So, and this is just one of the 3 or so channels that were direct streaming from TPUSA that are affiliated with TPUSA. Never mind all the other people that were, sub streaming it, if you will.
Again, like I said, maybe you're not familiar with how YouTube works, so allow me to present it to you another way so you can really drill into your head how despicable this organization has become and just no association with the truth. So I'm going to present to you now the official list of the top YouTube streams based off of concurrent viewership.
Yeah,
We're going to go through this list so that you fully appreciate
list.
what you are being asked to believe. Everything is a rich man's trick. That's what's happening right now. This is the highest live concurrent viewers on YouTube. These were the events. Number 1 was in India. That is a nation of 1.5 billion people. They had a moon mission and 8 million people in India tuned into it. That is believable, okay? Turning Point wants you to believe that they're number 2 now, okay? The next 2 through 20 are all proper football, meaning soccer in America events. You can see it's the World Cup, which is the biggest sport in the world. And when people streamed it, it looks like the 2022 World Cup comes into the second spot, Brazil versus Croatia. When it was streamed on YouTube, 6.1 million people tuned in. Again, this is the biggest sport in the world, soccer. They're trying to tell us that football, which only has a hold in America, this is a sport literally for America, and then Turning Point USA comes and they divide the fans by saying, we're doing just a conservative halftime sport, so they even halved their potential appeal to half of the football, people that are watching football. And then on top of that, the people who are divided because they just don't like what Turning Point USA has become since Charlie was assassinated, and that their loose association, their loose relationship with the truth since Charlie was assassinated. They want you to believe that in spite of all of that, they are now, they're number 2. They broke the record. So bye-bye football around the world. It's now Turning Point USA. 6 million people turned in live to watch their Kid Rock and Lee Bryce. And there was a couple of other artists that were involved, pre-recorded performance. Okay. Now, my understanding in looking at this is that this is it. They're going to force Erica on us. Like I said, this is the Kamala thing. There's absolutely nothing we can do about it. We just got our hands up. We are literally victims here. They have the money, they have the power, and we're going to shut up and we're going to take it. And we're going to have to accept.
Well, what is she saying? They're going to force Erica upon us. Okay. Erica is not some, elected candidate. This is a organization, a private charity organization that is ran by their board, and she is the CEO. Candace, you don't have a choice in this. Nobody gives a shit what you think or who you think should be running. Look, we all know that Candace thinks that she should have been the heir apparent when Charlie Kirk died. That's what this is all about. If that was the case, if somehow they came out and said right after Charlie Kirk died, hey, you know what? He left a will in here, and Candace Owens that's who he wanted to become the CEO of TPUSA, even though she completely destroyed Blexit, even though she was millions of dollars in the hole in Blexit. And there's a whole scandal that should be investigated and looked into, and maybe we will at one point with all of that. But if that had been the case, none of this investigation would even exist. It wouldn't, because we all know look, there's so much evidence at this point. You have to turn such a blind eye and omit so much evidence to believe that somebody other than Tyler Robinson. Now, I'm completely open to the idea that he did not act alone. I didn't think that he acted alone from the beginning. I don't think he acted alone now. But an idea that he wasn't ever on campus, that she started immediately trying to confuse people and to misdirect people away from Tyler Robinson in the left, who murdered Charlie Kirk, without a doubt. It was the left. That's why he had security. He'd received thousands upon thousands of credible death threats from the left, and especially from the militant trans activist movement, without a doubt. And that's exactly who, and like, they're not even denying it. His parents aren't denying it. Tyler Robinson isn't denying it. Nobody's denying it. And there's so much evidence. This is the amount of evidence that we know publicly that exists. Forget about the fact that they're still piling on evidence every single day. The investigation is still ongoing. The amount of evidence that we have, it couldn't be more clear. Now, if you want to be, I don't know, you want to be just an idiot and say, nope, I'm not accepting any of that evidence, that's fine. But you got to come up with a alternative that A, makes sense, and B, why we shouldn't accept all of that physical evidence, all of the DNA evidence, eyewitness testimony, the parents' the parents' testimony, the fact that they haven't come out and said, hey, you know what, my kid's innocent. Because I think every parent out there, if we knew that the state was trying to railroad our kid to a death penalty, I don't care what gag order you had on you, I wouldn't care. I'd be out there in front of cameras. My kid did not do this. He denies it. He's been set up. Like there's so much evidence. And you have to be so delusional to think that that is all made up. And the amount of people that would have to be involved in creating that evidence, in creating this conspiracy, is astronomical. From every local police to the state's evidence, to the state's investigative bureau, to the FBI, and everything in between. Like, even the families of both parties, Tyler Robinson and Lance Twiggs, like, none of them are coming out and saying, hey, you know what, they didn't do this. Like, it's preposterous. It really is.
This audacious polling, it's going to be Andrew Colbert up on Fox News. Like, it's amazing. She is more popular than Cristiano Ronaldo. It's just, the internet loves it. YouTube loves her, and we're amazed that we pulled this thing off. That's the vibe. Okay. We no longer live in a meritocracy. And Turning Point USA are effectively the righteous gemstones now. If you don't like Erica, then it's because you don't like Jesus. If you don't like what Turning Point's become, it's because you do not like Jesus. This is our new purchased reality. And I want to really drive this point home to you.
No, what you have to be at this point is, if you continue to accuse Erica and everybody else of murdering Charlie Kirk in this big conspiracy, you don't have to not like Jesus, but you definitely have to not be a Christian, period. Like, you don't get that option. You have no evidence. You're accusing a widow of killing her husband, and you have zero evidence. And as a matter of fact, again, not only do you have no evidence to support what you're saying, you have all of this evidence that's evidence against that you have to completely dismiss. And it doesn't, no reasonable person, no logical person, and quite frankly, no sane person would do that.
I can't even think of how many times I could underscore how absurd what they presented here is. And as a YouTuber, this offends me. People who actually put in hard work, try to produce a show, you should be offended by this, okay? I would guess that the most authentically watched event for Turning Point USA's YouTube page happened right after Charlie Kirk got assassinated. Remember, Erica first addressed the nation, and she did this in Charlie's studio. Everyone was rooting for her in this moment, waiting to see what she was going to say as the widow. If you go online right now, her address as a widow to the nation has 4.1 million views on Charlie Kirk's YouTube channel. It also has 36,000 comments. Okay, so 4 million views, 36,000 comments. If you know YouTube, that's right. They didn't fake that. That's real. I want you to compare that to the Turning Point halftime show, which, just like Biden's votes in 2020, when we slept, a bunch of more views came in on YouTube. They were like, people were like, I love it even more in the middle of the night. That now has over 20 million views. And yet,
again, look, we're talking about this speech versus an entertainment show that most people are watching in a party setting, in a group setting. You're not sitting there on your computer typing the whole time and saying, oh, this is a great show, or this sucks. And I bet a lot of those comments, and I can tell you, we could go through them in just a few minutes, are negative comments from the Candace cult folks that are coming on there and trashing, saying this sucks, this is terrible, Candace is right, Team Candace. like Erica's guilty of murder, TPUSA killed him. That's what most of these comments are. Everybody else is sitting back and enjoying a nice show. Multiple singers. Like, I'm not getting on there and saying, oh man, Kid Rock's hair looks amazing today. Like, most of these comments are probably negative, and most of these, and there's not going to be a comment on something that you're going to sit back and watch as a group. Or even, like, I watched it twice last night. I literally went through it at 1.5 times last night when I first watched it, and then I went through it slow, kind of cut through it. Not once did I feel the need to comment on there. So I watched it twice, didn't comment once. So, like, this ratio that she's talking about, views to comments, doesn't make sense in this particular application. So, you know, and even at this, like, I bet a lot of these comments that we're talking about on when Erica addressed the nation, again, I bet these are much further in the future, not necessarily even happened when she was talking. But again, I bet if we went back through those, it's a bunch of Candace cultists going back through and talking a lot of shit.
Only 46,000 comments. It's impossible. It's just, it's literally made up. Like I said, you know that the Erica address is an authentic representation of views because of the views to comments ratio. I'll give you an example. My last episode, The Letter to Erica on YouTube, that got 3.1 million views. It has 28,000 comments. So almost too close for a 20 million view video. Now, why does this actually matter? Why am I spending time speaking to you about this? Because it is such a perfect analogy for what this organization has become. Wealthy, corrupt, and dishonest. Just to our faces. It is, to me, so reminiscent of everything Tucker said when he got onto stage at SAS, when the Jewish donors got angry, when he questioned exactly where this money is coming from, how these people are becoming billionaires. People that are not impressive, that are not smart, are suddenly, we just learned that they're billionaires. Money is being thrown at them. And there are people who are smarter than them, who work harder than them. And he is essentially saying, we no longer live in a meritocracy. This is just a fiction, a total fiction. And I also want to stress here that what upsets me about it is it's exactly everything that Charlie Kirk hated. When we were hitting the ground, we were talking about the need for free markets. This is not an example of the free markets. This is an example
haven't sat down and talked to Charlie Kirk since, like,
capitalism. They're just, you're going to take it. This is what we're bigger than Cristiano Ronaldo. We don't know why. It's just, you had like Alex Clark shamelessly tweeting, everyone said we were over, but look at this. 100 million views. It's just fiction. So fiction that even Tyler Boyer, who happens to be a sexual deviant and also a committed homosexual part-time, is tweeting this out.
Like, I do not know how that she can say these things. Say that TPUSA has just become a corrupt whatever and scamming people out of money. I hope that TPUSA is in the middle of filing a lawsuit against. I think that's the only thing that is going to stop her. And I know from conversations I've had that, like, they are resistant to doing that because of just the pain of it. And look, when it comes to these defamation lawsuits, you can file a lawsuit now. It's going to be 3 to 5 years. Going to be 3 to 5 years. And at this level, millions of dollars, a lot of pain, and the other thing too, is like, she's going to countersue them, whether it's legitimate or not. It's just what's going to happen. So that's going to drag things out even further. So I understand their resistance to this, but I hope they understand that the damage that she's doing is worth the pain of that is the hard right over the easy wrong of hoping that she's going to go away. But more importantly than that, I think many of us agree, like, you just can't let this go unopposed. And they are the best. They're definitely in the best position monetarily, time, people, resources, to actually hold her accountable. And that's the only way that she's going to be held accountable. Look, folks, I can tell you right now, Candace has personally libeled and slandered me, said I was being paid by Erica Kirk, said that Erica Kirk hired Paramount Tactical, all of these things. That is slander. That is defamation. And I may still sue her. I'm not going to lie. But I can tell you right now, talking to lawyers about this, like, it is a pain. It's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars just for me. much less if you get all these big time lawyers that these guys are going to, like, you're talking millions and millions of dollars. And you know, you got to weigh that out, and they got to figure that out. But I do think that we are past the time of them actually launching a lawsuit against her, and I hope they do.
From Bad Bunny's performance, he actually tweeted this: "Why is Turning Point USA?" He wrote, "Why Turning Point USA ended up with one of the largest YouTube concurrent live streams in history tonight." And he shows something that he probably likes, if I'm guessing, this moment of two men dancing on each other. And of all people to tweet this, it's Tyler Boyer.
That's a
It
great
is
point.
Tyler Boyer. Everything is fake. A lot of it is.
All right, this is actually worth a read here. First, TPUSA gives us a great halftime show, and now TPUSA gives us this epic crash out from Candace. Too much winning. Couldn't agree more.
Is gay. These again are the righteous gemstones, and we are looking at, to me, fake Christianity. It's like Christianity Inc. Which brings us back to Fort Huachuca.
Yeah, she can't stand. She can't. Oh, I can't wait till we get to Fort Huachuca. She can't stand the fact that this event was so successful. This is copium 2.0 right here. Like, she can't get enough of it. She's going to be coping with this for weeks to come. We're going to hear about the halftime show in every episode for weeks and weeks to come, without a doubt, because she can't stand how successful it is, and she's bitter, and she's jealous, and she's a narcissist, and she just can't hardly take it.
Chuka, by the way, something big for you. You will recall that Mitch Snow, the man who had to deal with the full brunt of Andrew and Erica's PR machine. They were digging up his past, claiming that he was a habitual liar. Mitch was certain. He was certain, and I want to be clear, he also hasn't moved his story since, not 1 inch. He was certain that he saw Erica Kirk on the evening of the 8th at Fort Huachuca, leaving a hotel with a Cabot Phillips lookalike. He has not adapted that story, despite the undue harassment that he received, in particular after seeing.
Let me explain to you what's going on here. Because TPUSA was so successful in the halftime show, and by in part, directly, Erica Kirk was so successful with that halftime show. She has to bring this up, and you understand what she's implying here, right? She's implying that Erica Kirk was having an affair with Cabot Phillips. This is a direct stab back at Erica because she's just a bitch. She is a spiteful bitch. There's no other way to put it. That's what's going on here.
Erica on the evening of the 8th, he claims that he stumbled upon what appeared to him to be the conclusion of a military briefing right before mission, taking place in a borrowed building site for the Joint Task Force, the Southern Border Unit. And he was a border unit, and he was surprised. He saw a guy wearing the JTF thing. I think he said it was JTF 10, the 10th Mountain Brigade. He's like, "Oh, where are you guys? I thought this was like disbanded. I used to be on this same task force, Southern Border." And they're like, "No, actually, we're in this building." And you should know that that joint task force initially was formed in Tucson, Arizona. Well, here is a rather explosive lead. And I'm going to say this is a lead. I'm going to cage this. It's a possibility that this.
What she's saying is this is bullshit. She can't freaking back it up with any facts or evidence, and that this is just coming from her tip box or something else. This is a lead. I'm not saying anything. Okay. And this lady is so dumb that she thinks that she can say these things and it not lead to direct libel, slander, or defamation. All right. We just had Andrea Burkhart the other day. The insinuations alone that she's making. All right, the court isn't so dumb, and it's not as dumb as her followers that are going to sit there and try to tell you, well, she never said directly. All right, look, don't insult us. Don't insult our intelligence. We know what she's saying. She's giving you the information so that her dumb viewers will come to the conclusion that she wants them to come to. And they do every time, like freaking circus seals. This is great. This is exactly right. And she may not say it, but you look down in the comments, and those lemmings are saying exactly like, yep, definitely Erica Kirk killed Charlie Kirk. All right. They come to the conclusion that she wants every single time, even though she makes accusations and then she throws a question mark at the end of it and is like, oh, I'm just asking questions. Folks, we're not dumb. The court wouldn't be dumb. The judge, the jury wouldn't be dumb. So she just thinks that all of us are idiots. The fact is most of her viewers are, if they're even real. Because I do think, you talk about boosted numbers, I do think that a lot of her numbers are boosted. whether it's paid for by her or paid for by her enemies, whether that be political enemies or foreign enemies. I think both of those are taking advantage of what she's doing, and probably even outside of her knowledge. I mean, she probably realizes it, but there are definitely people that are taking full advantage of this because it's damaging to America. It's damaging to our trust and faith in our institutions. What little's left, I agree with most people on that, but also most importantly, damaging to MAGA and Trump. That's what's going on. And that's where TPUSA comes into play on this, because they were the most powerful conservative party that were winning the conservative. We were having a revival in the conservative party, and especially amongst our youth. Charlie Kirk and TPUSA by themselves completely pushed back and changed the culture when it came to the trans movement by himself. And that's why the trans movement killed him.
Does not pan out. But I'm putting this out here because I'd like a confirmation one way or the other. Last week, we introduced you guys to Tracy Martin. Remember, Tracy Martin is Erica's best friend for over 15 years. How close are Erica and Tracy? They've done everything together. Tracy says from Romanian Angels. Erica modeled for her clothing brands. All of it. These two and their families are close. She's also close to Lori, and she's close to Erica's stepfather's family, if pictures are telling us the right story. And I told you guys last week that I was having trouble learning anything about Tracy's husband, a man named Thomas Martin. It was unusual to me. He's got quite a build. He looks kind of military-esque to me, but they are also involved in fitness. They ran gyms. But we received this.
Like, her disdain for the military is disgusting to me. And I would find, even if I wasn't former military, I would still find it disgusting. Like, everybody in the military is suspect to some evil, nefarious act. And like, I don't know how people in our audience, which I know have family members or in the military, don't see that and aren't offended by it. I'm like, hey, stop doing that. I don't know.
Tip, and I'm going to again stress that it is just a tip at this moment, but it's potentially explosive. There is a director of U.S.
I just want to clarify this. So, Gerald, no, she's not under a gag order. She's under a cease and desist. And those are very different. She doesn't have to, and this is why she ended up getting sued by the Macrons, because she received a cease and desist. She received additional information proving that what she was saying was wrong, which I'm sure TPUSA sent Candace with that cease and desist as well. But she's deciding not to cease and desist. She's going to continue and resist. So that's what's going on with that. Just so we're clear, there's a big difference between a gag order and a cease and desist. One is compulsory, the other one is not.
U.S. Border Patrol, also Chief of Staff of the Southern Command in Tucson, named Thomas Martin.
Oh,
He's
God.
been based in Tucson, Arizona since at least the 80s when he was just an agent down at the border. And he has steadily climbed up the ladder. But this particular Thomas Martin has gone through great lengths to completely wipe his public presence. I'm going to show you what's left of
Thomas Martin. They're both their names is Martin. Like, my mother's maiden name is Martin. I must be involved too. Oh my God. We're all in it. I mean, Martin is one of the most common names in the United States. It might as well be Williams, Matthews, or Smith.
the LinkedIn link. You can actually click it. You can see it says Thomas Martin, Director, U.S. Border Patrol, experience, location, Greater Tucson area. Okay, we click that. That just is disappeared. Okay. Same, looking at Zoom info, we were again able to find this sort of relic. We found that he was Deputy Chief Patrol Agent at the Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security, for which we know Erica Kirk's mother also is involved, extensive contracts with the Department of Homeland Security. Says that he's been in Customs and Border Protection for 9 years. I'm assuming that's going to continue with the Department of Homeland Security. But again, we don't know because this has been wiped. Okay. And so I started crawling through some newspapers, trying to find this person's face. Interestingly enough, we know, like I said, he's been stationed in Tucson, Arizona. That Thomas Martin on Border Patrol at least since 1985. We know this because he was actually mentioned in a lawsuit as a young agent, a lawsuit. And the content of this lawsuit is impressive. This is an old newspaper article, again from October 21st, 1985. It appeared in the Times-Union, and it says the sanctuary movement is on trial. It tells us the story of this guy who picked up a hitchhiker, and there a movement was born.
Yeah, I am going to say this. So first of all, Spearhead, you're a liar, because I've never even seen you comment in here. And this is the trope that I'm getting all the time now. Like, people are going, I've been watching you for years. Folks, I'm pretty good at remembering screen names. I've been able to recall them. I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen you here before. All right, so this is a lie. And yes, I do think you're a dumbass if you support Candace Owens. If you believe the dumb shit that she continues to say, you are dumb. You're not only dumb, you're immoral, you're unethical, and you need to get right with God. Because I'm telling you right now, if you can sit there and have her just sit by, disparage the entire military, just tell everybody that the military is actually involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, a border patrol aid and assist joint task force, conventional army, and that they're supposedly down there planning the assassination of Charlie Kirk, then yes, you're a moron, especially if you were in the military, because you understand that the military is not going to do, especially the regular army and the regular military, conventional forces are not going to do clandestine operations where they're going to assassinate U.S. citizens on U.S. soil. It's the dumbest thing ever. And if you believe that and you sit there and you continue to listen to that and not speak out, you're not only dumb, you're unethical. And I don't care if you watch this channel or not, because first of all, I know you're a liar. I've never seen you on this channel. And I bet if I looked on your profile right now, you're not going to see a bunch of comments on this channel. But regardless, I don't care if you did 100 times, you've watched every single episode. I'm just telling you what God knows. And that is, you're a moron. And like, you can hate me, you can not like me, I don't care, but I'm just telling you what you need to hear, because you either want the bitter truth or the sweet lies. And apparently you're all about the sweet lies, because I know this is fun, this is entertaining for some, but there's real people involved here. There's real people that are being accused of murder, and it's evil and it's disgusting. And I can't stand to sit here and not say anything about it. I'm not going to do it. So, and I don't care if I lose this entire channel, I lose every subscriber, I don't care. But I'm going to continue to speak out until I don't have a platform to speak out. And then I'm going to climb on top of my roof. I'm going to get up there and tell people what lies that Candace Owens, because she's damaging the fabric of this country. There is nothing more important than the truth. And when you're willing to just completely see the truth because you enjoy the entertainment, you enjoy this sideshow that's going on, like, I got nothing for you. So please, unlike the channel, unlike this video, unsubscribe. I don't care. You can go watch Candace. I'm sure she'll appreciate you, because I sure don't. Like, you people think I care about views or subscribers? Like, get out of here. I don't. I care about the truth. That's it.
And to begin smuggling humans across the border and hiding them into churches. I kid you not. Kid you not. It tells us that these pastors, as well as priests, were working together. Southside Presbyterian Church, 2 Roman Catholic priests, a nun, and 6 church lay workers were all going on trial in Tucson for concealing illegal aliens. And this nice mention that we get of Thomas Martin, we learn that Agent Thomas Martin of the Border Patrol was writing to his superiors. Essentially, the argument that he's making is we shouldn't invade these churches, because then it's going to become a talking point that, oh, look at the big bad, ICE agents that are invading churches, and we shouldn't do that. So I'm going to direct quote, because he testified, and he said, he wrote to his superiors, quote, "A ploy is going to be border patrol baiting in order to demonstrate to the public that the U.S. government thinks nothing of breaking down the doors of their churches to drag Jesus Christ out to be tortured and murdered." So he's saying, if we do this, it's going to be,
That's exactly right. She strings together what Ray Bronson is saying. She doesn't have any evidence or anything, so she tries to use people's past to make some type of connections to the narrative she wants to push. This is exactly right. So again, what she's doing is she's taking all these unconnected dots, she's presenting them in front of you, and then trying to connect them to something that's happening in the future, when in reality, those have nothing to do with what the subject matter at hand is. This goes back to the fact there is not a single, folks, I want you to think about this. There is not a single material claim that she has that she can support with any evidence. Whether we're talking about the French Foreign Legion being involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination, she can't come up with a single piece of evidence. Matter of fact, we've never even seen the emails when she's talking about that there is an attempt on her life, that they're now hiring somebody, a professional state-sponsored hit team to come kill her. We've never seen anything with that. We've never even seen the emails where she allegedly reported that to any officials. So there's that. We've never seen a single piece of material evidence when it comes to the Fort Huachuca story. Again, her claim is that we've proven, even Paramount, who I've said 1,000 times, has proven, I've said 1,000 times that I don't care if Mitch Snow was there. It doesn't matter. Just because he's there doesn't mean his story is true. Again, I can go out in the woods right now and I can come back and I can say, hey, you know what? I just saw Bigfoot. And I took a picture of myself in the woods and I'm like, look, proof I was there. So that's proof that I saw Bigfoot. That's what she wants you to buy. And her viewers do buy that. Her viewers do listen to that and be like, oh, that's proof. All right. There's no logical person on this earth with any sort of brain matter between their ears that would think that makes sense. And yet that's what she does each and every single time. She can't give any sort of evidence of the material claims that she's making. So she has to string together this weird link to the past, to the future, to her dreams, to Harry Potter, whatever it takes. She's going to make you to believe it.
To understand this, it's going to be a talking point. So he's making the argument that we shouldn't do it, or it's going to be a talking point. Again, where is this Thomas Martin? And I want to be clear, because you guys send tips, this is not Thomas G. Martin. If you're doing a basic search and finding another Thomas Martin who works in Border Patrol up in Buffalo, New York, his name is Thomas G. Martin. That is not the same Thomas Martin that has been in Tucson. We've obviously already investigated the obvious lead there. Please do not send us any tips about Buffalo, New York, and the other Thomas Martin. But regarding this one, please do send us tips to more tips, at CandaceOwens.com, because we'd like to know. Maybe somebody worked with this Thomas Martin. Again, we know that he's been living in the Tucson area for decades, at least up until 2011. I can find a record of him working with the Southern Command, and that is interesting. Lastly, I've also received a solid tip, and this is shocking, that Tracy's daughter is actually Erica's assistant. I'll put an allegedly there because we've got to confirm that information. But the source knows these people. And remarkably, this is the shocking part, and this I don't have to put in allegedly because I have text messages from.
So I just typed in the ChatGPT approximately how many Thomas Martins are in the United States, and there's at least 7,000. 7,000 Thomas Martins. 7,000. Oh, let me get us back to where we were. Don't have to redo all that.
To say as the widow.
Yep.
Is this exactly, and she's close to Erica's stepfather's family, into churches. Please do send us tips to more tips, at CandaceOwens.com, because we'd like to know. Maybe somebody worked with this Thomas Martin. Again, we know that he's been living in the Tucson area for decades, at least up until 2011. I can find a record of him working with the Southern Command, and that is interesting. Lastly, I've also received.
Yeah, Rigor Rouge, we're going to need an alibi from you for that entire time. Every day, 365 days a year, all the way back to the 80s. We're going to need some alibis from you.
A solid tip, and this is shocking, that Tracy's daughter is actually Erica's assistant. I'll put an allegedly there because we've got to confirm that information. But the source knows these people. And remarkably, this is the shocking part, and this I don't have to put in allegedly because I have text messages from September 11th. Tracy told friends that her daughter, possibly Erica's assistant, was supposed to be at UVU on September 10th, but Tracy had a bad feeling about it. Wait, Erica's best friend had a bad feeling about what was going to happen on September 10th. Yep. And so she stopped her daughter, Erica's assistant, from going. Tracy had a divine intuition that her daughter should not go to UVU, but she didn't share that with Erica about maybe she should have said her husband shouldn't.
Yep. We're never gonna stop, Yemi. So enjoy the chat, buddy. Enjoy the chat.
Gone to UVU. Maybe if you would share that, if it's your best friend, maybe
And
did Erica talk to her alleged assistant about that? Hey, maybe we shouldn't go. My mom's saying I shouldn't go because she's a bad feeling something bad's going to happen. And then something bad does happen. And it's like, thank God Tracy didn't send her daughter because she had a bad intuition. But did she share that with Erica? Does that sound right to you guys? Is that tracking for you guys at all? Look, I don't know what's going on, but I know that it is not what they are telling us is going on. Okay, I'll leave it at that. And we will take a quick break and be back after some sponsors. All right, you guys, thanks to you, last year Preborn helped rescue over 80.
I want to address this comment right here. And this goes back to the French, how the French killed Charlie. And then the French decided that they were going to kill Candace. And like the premise here is that Candace is saying that the Macrons decided to kill Charlie to distract Candace Owens from her investigation. And then after that, they decided they were just going to kill Candace. Like, why on earth would they just not kill Candace? Make it look like an accident and then the whole thing's over with? Like, does that even make sense? No, they're going to expose themselves in front of 3,000 people, the extraordinary risk that it would take to plan out an assassination of Charlie Kirk at UVU University when they could have just went to Candace, watched her house, waited for her to go down the road and freaking, I don't know, shoot her, hit her with a truck. Like, there's 1,000 different ways that they could have taken Candace out directly. And none of this would be a thing. It doesn't even make sense. None of the stuff that she ever says passes the logic smell test. And we're going to fast
1,000
forward
babies.
through
And today you can
her money-making schemes here.
everybody to do. And I had wondered what drove that. Why would you delete 126 posts off .com and order the whole health system supplement as a preferred customer today? That's balanced. I had mentioned that to you in the past, and I had wondered.
So hard to.
On June 19th, Erica purged her Instagram of a lot of pictures, 126 posts she deleted. And I had wondered what drove that. Why would you delete 126 posts off of your Instagram page? And when I did my master timeline, I realized that this was
Her master timeline. Hold on. I want to hit this again real quick because this is important.
Okay, something that I want to mention to you that I had been quietly working on to confirm the date for. I'm just going to throw this in here on that same topic. I had mentioned to you guys a while ago that on June 19th, Erica purged her Instagram of a lot of pictures, 126 posts she deleted. And I had wondered what drove that. Why would you delete 126 posts off of your Instagram page? And when
All right, before we get into her supposition as to why she deleted all these things, you guys come up with some reasons why someone like Erica Kirk might suddenly start deleting any sort of pictures. I can tell you that we just deleted a bunch of pictures just recently. Why is that? Because of death threats, because of people trying to dox us, because of we don't want our kids and other family moments being put up on the screen and being spread all over the internet. I don't know what happened during that time, but there's 1,000 scenarios as to why that Erica Kirk may have gotten rid of some of those posts. They're constantly getting death threats. Maybe something credible came up, and maybe it was a talk that she had with Charlie Kirk, like, hey, we need to get rid of some of these pictures. I don't know what the answer is, but what I do know is that she doesn't know what the answer is. And whatever answer that she comes up with is going to be some nefarious intent. And when it is not even, it's not even common sense to apply that because you don't know. But what I can tell you, just like we're talking about Fort Huachuca, is that the Fort Huachuca story was already there when Candace Owens sat down with Erica Kirk. She never asked her once, where were you on September 8th or 9th? Never once during that. She could have sat there and asked Erica Kirk, and I bet you that Erica Kirk could have showed her some information. So She is so disingenuous. Like, I don't even know where to begin. It is unbelievable that Americans would sit here and watch this and entertain this nonsense.
I did my master timeline. I realized that this was the time when things were really heating up with Israel and Iran. I had mentioned that to you in the past, and I had wondered to myself if she had moved to do that after Charlie beat Bibi Netanyahu in a debate and all of his Zionist thugs at the White House, and he had convinced Trump that he should have just a limited military limited military operation in Iran, which ended up being Operation Midnight Hammer. Well, I can now confirm that the date that Charlie went into the White House and went up like toe to toe with Bibi Netanyahu's and his thugs who wanted more action in Iran, and he won, was on June 18th. So to make that very clear, on June 18th, Charlie goes head to head with the Zionists and Bibi Netanyahu, who are trying to convince Trump that there needs to be more action in Iran, that America should get behind. Obviously, Charlie's in there showing like the base is going to hate this. Don't do that. That's a very bad idea. And Charlie wins. Tucker spoke about that. You can go find the clips of Tucker speaking about the fact that Charlie
Tucker said it must be true.
Spoke up for America, really spoke up for Americans and said, don't do this. You know, you promised no wars. Keep this as a limited operation. That's June 18th. The very next day on June 19th, Erica purges her Instagram. She deletes 126 posts. I had wondered if that was the way it went, that Charlie pissed off Bibi and then Erica purged her Instagram. I don't know what to make of that, but I wanted to give you guys that data point, which is from our master timeline. Okay, switching gears here, not entirely. Something else that's on our master timeline is, of course, this Hamptons thing, which it was so strange. There were so many lies that came out of this. Also credit to Max Blumenthal, broke this story that Charlie had this, as we had described it, a very heated confrontation, and he was being pushed by Zionists about his shifting support for Israel. They all came out and gave these clean, buttoned-up statements saying that wasn't true. It described it as, it was just like, tossing some ideas to him. And Charlie said, well, it was just like a spirited debate, they said. And I said, no. Max Blumenthal said no as well. That's not what went down in the Hamptons. No, they were pressing Charlie. He was stressed out by it, and things got heated. He was being yelled at. They always disputed this narrative. Well, enter in this hero, Carrie Prejean Bowler, and she is Catholic. I'm going to state that because it's just Catholic ganging right now. This morning, there was a Religious Liberty Commission hearing on anti-Semitism, and Seth Dillon gets up there of the Babylon Bee. He was the chief. Him and Natasha were the chiefs of pressing Charlie in the Hamptons. Okay. And Seth Dillon's just supposed to be the funny guy testifying from the Babylon Bee about the rise of anti-Semitism and what are we going to do? And Carrie took it as an opportunity, since he's under oath. When you testify, you're actually under oath, to ask him about a variety of topics. First and foremost, she presses him because he was also one of the chiefs of Christ is King, is anti-Semitic. And she questions him on that perspective. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
On their social media platform, would you label that an anti-Semitic if you're looking into the context of what they're saying, or if they just say it, Christ is King? Like,
it could be.
You have
to look at the context. Yeah.
But I would say that's anti-Christian if you're analyzing why I'm saying Christ is King.
No, saying the phrase Jesus Christ is not taking the Lord's name in vain unless you're doing it in a certain context, right? There's context matters.
It does.
Yeah, so going back to Candace Owens, when she worked for Daily Wire, your friend Ben fired her because she said Christ is King.
And I never said that what she said was anti-Semitic.
Okay, but you're calling her an anti-Semite.
Oh, yes, because she said way worse than that.
Okay, let's move on, because everyone seems to be obsessed with Candace. My last question, why were you at the Hamptons?
Can just real
why
quick?
Were you at
Hey, let's not sit here and pretend otherwise. Look, like when I see Christ is King in the bio, which is what these people are doing, all right, it has now become an anti-Semitic anthem amongst them, just like a burning cross. Like there's people that hijack things all the time. There's movements that hijack certain phrases, symbology, and everything else. And look, Christ is King has become hijacked by a certain segment of this anti-Semitic movement. There's no doubt about it. You can go look at all these. Look at the people, what they're saying about Israel, about Jews. It's not just Israel. And there is absolutely a distinction between people that criticize the government of Israel and our relationship with Israel. I not only encourage that, I believe that. Like, there are some things that are going on within this country with our relationship with Israel that I disagree with. That being said, all right, there's lots of people that's all they care about. Their entire focus is Israel, Jews, they're taking over the world. And in their bios, you're going to see Christ as king. That's just a fact. So this is a trope of the left. This is that they have hijacked, and they have turned into a phraseology of their own movement. Period. And there's no debate about that. Or if there is, you're an idiot.
Do you think that anything Candace has said is anti-Semitic?
No, I don't.
Nothing,
No.
ever. That's interesting.
I mean, I listen to her daily.
You should look up more of
I haven't
her
heard one
statements.
thing out of her mouth that I would say is anti-Semitic.
It's just dripping off of him, like the evil, the dishonesty. He then goes on to say a bunch of things that I never, ever, ever said, of course, because they have to just make things up. And he's like, no, she now says outwardly what she thinks about Jews, and there's no separation between Zionists and Jews. Yes, there is. Half the time I'm attacking these Christian Zionists for the exact same reason, where they're trying.
I agree with this. Ruger Rouge. I hope if she ever loses a spouse, no one treats her the way that she is treated. Because I think there's very few people that would be able to withstand the attacks that have been put upon Erica Kirk and TPUSA. I hope no person ever has to go through this. Candace would crumble without a doubt. She can't even be honest with herself and say, look, I said some things dumb. I didn't understand how to pronounce it. It was like we all do it, especially if you get up here and talk. I sit there and listen to videos that I've pre-recorded, and sometimes even then I have said something dumb, misspoke, pronounced a word wrong. We all do it. But if you are so narcissistic that you can't laugh at yourself, you're like, you know what? I was saying macabre instead of macabre, and you're like, you know what? That's just dumb. That was silly of me. Ha ha ha. You guys got me. All right. But more importantly, let's move on to these other issues. She can't do that. She can't laugh at herself because she's so self-conscious and she's so fragile on the inside that she can't do it.
To sell to us racial supremacy, which is really just Israeli supremacy, right? And telling us that if we don't worship Israel, it's problematic. And gratefully, she gets up and she calls him on that. She's like, what are you even speaking about? And so then she, as you see, she's kind of setting the groundwork for, she decides to move to the topic of the Hamptons. And here is what Seth Dillon had to say.
The Hamptons meeting was a retreat called by Charlie. It was I don't know if many of you are familiar with this. I'll give you a little context, but there was a claim that was made that an intervention was staged with Charlie, where people pulled him into a room in a very aggressive manner, pressured and blackmailed him because they felt like he was straying away from his support for Israel. That was the claim. The Hamptons retreat, and the Hamptons retreat was characterized that way. It was not like that. There were about 30 people there, handpicked and invited by Charlie personally. He brought us there. He stood at the front of the room with a microphone throughout the thing. The theme of it was Save the West. His primary focus was on the threat of Islam, the problem of Islam. There was heated and spirited debate about the issue of Israel in the room, but it was debate that Charlie himself initiated, and he wanted to hear different perspectives on it. And so we voiced a lot of our perspectives. One of the things that I disagreed with him on was he said that, if you're not sufficiently supportive of Israel, it can be really ruinous for you in a position like his.
Yeah.
If you criticize Israel at all, they'll try to denigrate you and destroy you and call you names, call you anti-Semitic, etc. And it can ruin you. And I said, yeah, certainly that's true, but it can also be very costly to stand up to those people. And I gave the example of my own experience where I criticized the critics of Israel, and they tried to destroy me. And so, we can all, whine and cry about the consequences of what might happen if we say certain things, but everybody has a right to give their opinion and say what they think. So there was back and forth like that. But there were many people that came out and made statements afterwards that it was completely mischaracterized. And that was really evil what she did.
Yeah, I want to hit on this right here. What Rams of B fan is saying. Look, there's a practice that if you're not familiar with it, it is bachabazi. All right. Bachabazi is a practice in the Middle East where there is a large section of Islam that believes that little boys are for pleasure and women are for producing. All right. And I've seen this. I've had discussions with people in both Iraq and Afghanistan. It was definitely much more prevalent in Afghanistan than it was Iraq. It's a little more frowned upon, but still practiced in Iraq. So, why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk about Islam and the fact that, number one, it's not compatible with Western society. And on top of that, other practices like bachabazi that are completely disgusting that, by the way, most of Islam looks at is either neutral or in favor of it. And we never talk about that. That is an open thing in most Middle East countries. But Candace I've never heard her disparage Islam at all or talk about the problems that it faces with American society and Christian society for that matter.
To lie about a situation like that and try to portray it as though the Jews were trying to blackmail Charlie. That resulted in death threats.
She never said
She
that.
absolutely said that.
No, she didn't.
She put my face on a movie poster for I Know What You Did Last Summer, suggesting that I had a role in his murder. Like I played a role in his murder. That's why someone tried to kill me and my family and got arrested in Texas.
I just love Zionists. No matter what, they can be a victim. She put my name on it. She put my face in a thumbnail of I Know What You Did Last Summer, an objectively hilarious thing that I did. Go me.
No, there's nothing hilarious about that. That is exactly what she's implying. Does she not even understand the gravity? I do think there's a disconnect. I think she thinks this is all fun and games. There's something wrong in her brain where she's like, this is all WWE to her to some extent. Like, she doesn't understand that when you're telling people or suggesting to people and you do things like this, she's already said that Bibi Netanyahu in Israel has something to do with Charlie's murder. And then she's throwing Dylan's face up there as well and lumping them all together, saying, I know what you did last summer, meaning I know that you were involved in Charlie Kirk's death. And then you're going to sit here and be like, oh, that's hilarious. It's not funny. You're messing with people's lives, woman. Do you not understand that when you're telling the security team, they were involved in it? Now people see them as murderers and they want to carry out justice. This is what's taking place. And when you're telling people that I am paid by TPUSA and then my address gets doxxed, and by the way, my property gets damaged right after that, there's no coincidence there. My property was vandalized within days of that. And then on top of that, we're getting death threats. And then people are attacking my wife online, trying to find pictures and everything else. It is absolutely we're not doing that to her. That's the difference here. We're not attacking her in that. We're attacking her on substance of what she's doing and what she's saying. And people are making fun of her, but nobody's accusing her of murder. And that's what she's doing. And there's a huge difference between those two things. When you're accusing people of murder and accusing people like me of essentially covering up a murder and that I'm being paid by TPUSA and trying to undermine my credibility. And here's the difference with all of this. For her to undermine my credibility or other people's credibility, she has to lie. For us to undermine hers, all we have to do is tell the truth. That's the essence of this. And that's the difference. Because she has no evidence. She's got nothing. She's got no proof of anything of material that she says. What she has, some long, disconnected story about this guy at the Border Patrol over here or there or there, and you put it all together, and then you got Egyptian planes. Harry Potter, astral projection, Sumerian technology, Project Looking Glass. It's bonkers. It's effing nuts. And yet people are like, oh, yeah, she's onto something. Man, this lady is a real investigator. By God, she is Sherlock Holmes reincarnate.
That is fantastic. And he wants us to think that it almost led to his murder. They're just such crimes. They mass murder children overseas and defend it and explain it away.
Who's they? Who's they? Seth Dillon mass murdering children overseas? She's justifying that something that she's directly doing to this general statement of what essentially we all pay taxes. If you want to say that America is murdering children overseas, Okay, well then I guess we're all involved. None of us have rioted. None of us have, done a coup d'etat and a revolution and taken over the government and stopped that. So I guess we're all guilty. So it justifies her evil individual actions.
That's actually what's happening. And then you put them on a little thumbnail poster, as in, I know you did last summer, because that's punny. Okay. It is.
Funny.
And we're speaking about the Hamptons. And now he's like, I almost got killed. I almost died. It's so not okay. It's evil. No, what's evil is you lied. And now you're adjusting your story. Everybody go back and watch the clips of them discussing what happened in the Hamptons. And she is correct. I never said that he was blackmailed. Charlie described what happened in the Hamptons as he was being morally blackmailed. And by the way, you can find clips of Charlie speaking about how he felt that he was being morally blackmailed over his position on Israel. Those are Charlie's words, not mine. And he felt he was being morally blackmailed because of what Seth Dillon did. So first, Seth Dillon's perspective was it was just a nice, lovely, spirited debate. Now he's changing this and he admits that it got heated. Oh, where was that? Why couldn't acknowledge that it got heated before, Seth, when we were saying that?
Again, she's intentionally mischaracterizing this. I listened to his testimony earlier and I looked at what he actually said in his statement online. All right. He said they had heated discussions, and like she's turning this into where it's like heated, and it was discussions amongst them, even people within this room. There was like 30 people there or whatever else. Yeah. There's a bunch of people that are opinionated and are like debate for a living. Of course, they're going to have heated policy discussions, but to turn that into, like they're about to come to fisticuffs, which is what she's trying to imply here. That's exactly what she's trying to imply. Like this was so heated. This was an intervention. They were trying to force Charlie's hand. There is nothing that indicates that.
That was true, and that's what happened. And by the way, they never want to touch the facts, even when they all came out, these carefully orchestrated legal type statements to be like, oh, nothing happened in the Hamptons. No one even wanted to touch the fact that Bibi Netanyahu called, which I told you happened. Everything I said was true. It got heated. Charlie was being pressed. He was so stressed about what happened in the Hamptons that it spilled over into his conversation with Megyn Kelly. Kudos to Megyn for telling the truth about how he was feeling. Kudos to Tucker Carlson for telling the truth about how he was feeling. They were just, oh no, they told us Charlie never even flinched on Israel. Now he's saying it got heated. Well, why would it get heated? Was this a mock debate as they tried to present it? Like, it was, why would it get heated? If Charlie's position was not shifting, why would it get heated? Can somebody explain that to me? If he just got heated about how much he loved Israel in the room. He said, I'm just so angry that people don't get how much I love it. I love it. And Seth was like, I know. And they got angry and heated because they both just loved Israel. That's what they wanted us to believe.
Nobody said angry. It is
obnoxious. They lied.
Nobody ever said angry. Again, she's constantly doing this. She's inserting these exaggerations to bring the viewer and the listener over to what she's saying. Instead of just like reporting it as it is, she projects her whatever she wants on it. She puts in her own little things and then she goes with that. It's pure imagination and make believe.
But they feel nothing when they lie. Okay. Just like Josh Hammer, that is Seth Dillon. They all lied about what happened in the Hamptons. It was heated. Charlie was pressed. I said that factually because I had eyewitness reports of exactly what happened. And it is a fact. Bibi Netanyahu called. Erica says he didn't offer to take Turning Point to the next level. Okay, Erica. Andrew Colvett says that he did offer to take Turning Point to the next level. And now he wants to go back and not address that point again because everything I told you was true. Charlie said no to Bibi Netanyahu. He didn't even want Bibi Netanyahu on his radio show. He was so done with Israel. Anybody care to fact check that? Did Bibi Netanyahu reach out to go on Charlie's podcast when he was doing the podcast rounds in July or August, whenever it was? The answer is I'm telling the truth. Okay. I am telling the truth. And the only reason they are lying about this, in my view, is because you only lie when you have something to hide. And it feels like motive. It feels like motive. They're protecting Bibi and they're protecting this narrative because there's a motive. Otherwise, you just say, yeah, I got into an argument with him. Kind of sucked. I wish that wasn't the last time I saw him. If you were an honest person and you had nothing to hide, that's what you would say. I'd say, man, I really regret that those are my last words to him. Life is short. It was so stupid. I don't even really care about his opinion on Israel anymore, man. I just feel terrible. Nope. They all said, Candace is a liar. And now we're slowly getting the truth about.
Yeah, that's one thing I would like to look at. Since like 2019 till present, or at least until September 10th. How many times had Charlie Kirk had Candace Owens on a podcast to talk with her, or on any sort of media with him? I know the day before he died, he posted the debate with Ben Shapiro. So again, we see Ben Shapiro constantly showing up in content with Charlie Kirk. Like, I don't know of any. I haven't looked, but and I will after this. But I don't remember seeing, and I follow Charlie Kirk pretty closely. I don't remember seeing Candace Owens in any content for many, many years.
What got heated? What they were discussing? Charlie feeling, as he even describes it, morally blackmailed, telling him that it's ruinous. If you say anything about Israel, it's suddenly ruinous to your career. And Seth was fired up. Not Josh Hammer, I will say. It wasn't Josh Hammer that got all fired up in that room. It was Seth. And Seth, you just look like a liar. Just so you know that, you just like your whole presence there. If you guys go back and watch it, the way he's like stumbling over his words.
Again, this is like the Mean Girl stuff that I talked about the other day. You know, the Mean Girls sitting over there at the lunch table, watching these other girls that's real pretty come in, and it's like, oh, look what she's wearing. Doesn't she just look evil? Doesn't she look nasty? Doesn't she look like the S word? Look what she's wearing. Look at her handbag. Look at her makeup. It's all like, this is what they do. This is the stuff that Jordan Peterson talks about too. Machiavellianism, freaking trying to attack people's character, slander, gossip. This is what she does. This is her tools of her trade. And this is what she's successful. And that's why she appeals to such a huge female audience that are, you know, living quiet, desperate lives. And it's really sad that she appeals apparently to so many men. I don't know if those are real or not, but it's pretty disgusting. It is the stuff that most of us outgrow by the time we're in our late teens. We're like, you know, that's just childish, reprehensible behavior. And yet this is what she makes a living doing.
He's lying. He just is lying. And I like the nice little touch of the Babylon Bee, because now that we're getting into your true guiding theology, which is not Judaism, by the way, it makes perfect sense. You are not the funny guy at all. You are, in my view, completely unhinged, and you should feel remorse for what you put Charlie through in the end. You should have come online and had some sort of a conscience about telling the public lies about your last encounter with him. But of course you don't. That just kind of seems to be the entire Zionist narrative these days. You guys do to others and then constantly pretend you are the victims, including
she's so projecting right now.
Poster. Hey, Seth, I know what you did last summer. Okay. We will be back after a brief break. All right, you guys, as available on the and created the Smart Equity Law 7 at 9 site. If you would like to know why Emmanuel Macron is gay, you can certainly find that new merch available on the website. To support our show in general, that is what you can do. You can head to CandaceOwens.com, buy some merch, and we stay independent. We do not go which way the wind is blowing, and we don't have people breathing over us telling us what we have to say. Also, I'd love to get to 100,000 subscribers. Let's see if we can do that this year. I'm setting my New Year's goal late here. We've merged our subscription tiers into one Club Candace tier for $11.99 a month, or you can do $120 for the entire year. The book club is where we go a lot deeper on a lot of these topics because we can, because we are on our website. So there you go. Top comment from the last episode, which was my Dear Erica episode. I did see how viral that went on TikTok, and I do want to thank TikTokers for being objectively hilarious in the comment section with your memes. I don't know what is wrong with TikTokers. You're very funny, but you're bad, and you're the reason Israel's taking over TikTok. I want you to know that it's your fault. Top comment from last episode regarding that episode is, when they planned this, they did not plan on Candace. Yeah, I don't think evil ever plans on goodness.
No, they get
or anything that's genuine.
$6
And my relationship with Charlie was genuine. I knew who he was and who his faults were. And he was just like a kid brother, that's all I can say, who annoyed me in many ways, and I'm sure I annoyed him in many ways. But he did not deserve that ending. GN2176 writes, Candace, thank you for all that you are doing in this investigation. As I watch this story unfold, it appears that a book is being written about Charlie Kirk's trial leading up to a September 10th execution. Like St. Thomas More, I wonder if Charlie Kirk was also a man for all seasons. I did not know that there was a book that was being written. I'm not shocked about that at all. I would like to.
Somebody was commenting on what, like, Dan's a big supporter of the channel. He's not talking about me. He's talking about another Green Beret YouTuber. I know exactly who he's talking about. So just understand that, folks. Don't start hating on Dan.
I'd be interested to learn
Could
more
be
about
clearer
writing that
in his
book.
comment.
Jay Nichols writes, I went back to the first post after September 10th and I had forgotten the progression of this journey. Side note, where did you get your cloud shirt? Truth is the only thing that is undeniable. I wish I knew you personally. We could be best friends, cut from the same cloth. I
Oh,
don't know which cloud shirt you're speaking about. Which cloud shirt? I would assume the blue sweater. I got that in London. I actually get basically all my clothes from London. I try to buy everything once a year because they have so many cute boutiques and they just have things that I feel like are not available elsewhere. So I've been in London. Jay Nichols writes, I went back to the, oh, I just read that. Leslie writes, I'm so grateful for you, your resolve and integrity. Thank you for continuing to give us hope that truth and goodness will prevail. I'm curious, have Charlie's parents reached out to you to validate all that you are doing to seek justice for Charlie? No, I have not. And we are still working through some of the tips. I have not received any communication from them. I will tell you that they have always been exceedingly private. Like I have met them maybe a handful of times in the early Turning Point USA days. I know they went to a couple of events. I've never met his sister. And a lot of people ask about that, whether or not their silence means something. They are obviously genuinely mourning having lost Charlie, and they have always abstained. So that is not new. Nance the Rock writes, thank you, Candace, for your amazing work. Alicia writes, I have been perplexed as to why Erica would so willingly accept the Fed slop and the trust our judicial system narrative regarding Tyler Robinson. It just hit me that, of course, she would accept the narrative as long as they were looking at anyone else and not her or TPUSA. What I will say is anybody telling you that questioning the people around who have a potentially $1 billion motive for the person not to be there is asking you to be an idiot. They're asking you to be the kind of person that looks at 6 million concurrent viewers for a halftime special that only appeared on YouTube and basically told half of the nation F you is just as big as the World Cup. Like it's ridiculous. And it feels like that's the direction of travel of wind lately, right? Like that is the direction of travel, that they want us to accept stupidity and to just go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And they can make anybody they want a celebrity because they have power and they have resources and they have PR team. And the next morning they wake up and they just have a bunch of people have Andrew Colvin on and say, yep, we did it. We broke a world record. We are contending. This is literal. We are contending to break a Guinness Book of World Record. That's what they're doing. If those numbers are to be believed, they're going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. And what that says is they have no faith in us. They think we are stupid and easily manipulated. And I'm happy that we are at least disproving them of that notion. Schley Walt writes, thank you for finally calling it the Righteous Gemstones. I have been trying to tell everyone. I actually haven't even watched the show, but I kind of got the vibe of it. I saw
Cats Russ
something
5612.
online that was posted. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's that. For sure. This person, Ani, writes, Candace, are you on Upscrolled? Please share your name. No, I'm not. I think someone made an account for me. I know that's like contending with Twitter. That is not the real, that ain't the real Candace O. That's what I'll tell you. Amy O writes, I love that there is a clip of Erica speaking to Megan that confirms your recollection of lights flickering, yet people were calling you a witch. Stay Max. P.S. Thank you for reading comments last week. I stand by saying that you are Charlie's David. Yeah, I saw them. They were trying to like make that fetch. By the way, first and foremost, that's a real condition. I actually want to find it. That is a real thing that people go through. And I don't know why that should shock you. Like there are all sorts of things, like people who can, they see colors when they hear sounds. I don't know if they consider this to be disorders or what it is. I know Kanye has that. Like people visually, people can hear things that are not the same. And there are a ton of people. I'm going to look this up. Actually, you guys wait right here. Lights flickering near you. I don't know what they call it, a syndrome. It has an official name. Oh, it's called SLI. It's literally called street light interference, which is a phenomenon where people claim that causes street lights to turn off or flicker upon approach, or also known as a medical condition of photosensitive epilepsy, seizures that are triggered by flashing and strobing and flickering lights. So I don't know what to say to you. Like Erica's telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. Like that's just a random thing to make up. That when
the difference is, and if you guys have listened to Erica, which by the way, I want to point out, that was like in early November. that Erica gave that interview, and I watched it, and she was talking about how her and Charlie kind of laughed about the fact that he always said that he'd go around and lights flicker. Folks, I come down in my basement, lights flicker all the time, like lights flicker upstairs every time who hasn't seen flickering street lights? And the way that Erica described it was this funny inside joke, like, look, it's flickering again. In the same way, so me and my wife have this inside joke. I swear to God, every time that we look at the clock, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And we do it all the time, morning and at night. It does it twice a day. I don't know if you know that, AM and PM. But like it's very common, and we laugh about it. We don't think that we have a superpower. And this is the difference, is Erica was describing a cute thing between them. She wasn't saying, oh, look, it's a superpower. That's exactly what Candace is trying to say. Like, oh, he has some sort of superpower. He's emitting some sort of electromagnetic field that makes lights flicker. And that's why he went to, the X-Men school and all of these things. And we had these tests done to us. Like, there's a big difference between what Erica said and then what later on. And I think that was something that Candace probably hijacked from there. Don't have any proof of that. Pure speculation. Being fair here. Just want to call balls and strikes. But again, what I can tell you is that she had never mentioned that before Erica stated that. It was later on. So take that for what it's worth. There's a big difference in the way that those two things are described.
We ran streetlights went out. It's just real. And if you go into the comments of people on the GATE program, if you go back to our...
Oh, folks, before I forget, by the way, right after this show, we're doing another live stream at 8 p.m. I'm going to probably drop this at 7:30. So we got another 15 minutes. I'll take some questions. But at 8 p.m., we have another live stream. And I want to make sure I get his name right. We're going to have special guest Jim Carlin from Iowa. All right. He's running for U.S. Senate. This is a chance for you conservatives out there to actually get in front of a conservative Senate candidate that's going to, if he wins. And I don't know anything about this guy. Somebody reached out to me and said, hey, he would like to come on the show. He'd like to talk. And anytime that I can talk to a Senate candidate, I'm going to. It gives us an opportunity to ask questions, to probe their politics, to see what they really believe in. And we're going to give him a chance to talk. And it's going to give you an opportunity to actually ask him questions. What you want to know about his First Amendment, his views on the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Constitution, personal liberty, like all of the taxes, whatever you got going on, whatever your key issues are, you're going to have the opportunity to ask him and to see what he believes. So I'm looking forward to having him on. We're going to go live at 8 p.m. on that one, Eastern time. So make sure you join us for that. And again, if you haven't done so already, make sure you like this video. Make sure to subscribe. The other thing I will ask you folks, because you guys see the candy cultists that jump into the chat. The other thing that happens is all the likes on this live stream go away once we turn this off and it turns into a regular video, essentially. It's still categorized as a live stream. But if you'll go back and like those videos, I really appreciate it, because we get all the Candace cultists come in, they downvote the video. It happens. I don't care. We can get negative likes. 3,000, nothing but negative likes, dislikes. So I don't really care. Anyways, come join us at 8 p.m. as well. Let's finish this out, and then I'll take some questions.
Episode where we were discussing the GATE program. Yeah, there's a lot of that. So that was strange. I don't know. I didn't say, I don't even know what people were trying to construe from that. It's so strange. And then people who were going, oh, you're speaking about the third eye. This is demonic. Couple of things. Yes, Charlie spoke to me about his third eye, and I have that in writing. And for those of you who are saying that that's demonic, I would like to remind you that having a conversation, if you want to call it third eye or pineal glands, you have like people, the government that.
Oh my God. Again, the things that like, I haven't seen the text, but I know how I joke around with my friends. And I don't doubt that Charlie has joked around about time travel. I don't doubt that he's joked around about a third eye. But knowing his doctrinal beliefs and who he was, I know he doesn't believe that. All right? It's a joke. And if all my friends took some of my texts seriously, they're like, oh, whatever we said, and vice versa, right? Like, oh, this guy thinks he's a Superman. He can, do whatever. His max is this or that or whatever we got going on. Point here is that she takes all these things that are meant as a joke, takes them out of context, turns them into something serious, and it's ridiculous.
is trying to poison your pineal glands. That's a fact. If you look at fluoride, all that is very real. But
That we agree
to
on.
suggest that someone speaking to someone, by the way, I wasn't even a Catholic in 2018, so that was a weird thing they were trying to like push. I have the messages that he was speaking to me about his third eye, and my guess from what I discerned in the context of that conversation was that sort of a thing, which I think his coach, or I don't know who that guy was that he was working with, is what ultimately actually brought Charlie to the Christian faith. That's the context, and I can show you those messages another time, maybe tomorrow. But he had a bad experience, so there's that as well. So I wasn't entirely clear on why I'm always in trouble for telling you the truth about what Charlie told me, and which I have in writing. Like, I don't know what anybody was getting from that anyway. I was telling the truth. I continue.
All right. I think we've had enough of Candace. Let's have a little bit of fun here. So first of all, I want to show you guys this text or this post that I had on X. She was talking about all the different tests that her and Charlie had to endure, because he went to this very special school, and she was, they were in there bending spoons or whatever we got going on, astral projecting, remote viewing. And I posted this, which I think is pretty freaking funny. The testing that Candace endured. We think you might be a superhero. Put this on so you don't fly away. And that's the type of testing that she had to endure. So again, if you guys aren't following me on X, make sure you go follow me on X. Shared a lot the last couple of days. This is a pretty interesting one. If you aren't familiar with Pizzagate, get familiar with Pizzagate. So Candace and many of her sycophants have talked about all these people posting about pizza. What I thought was very interesting, and I want you to see this and understand what we're looking at here. This is Candace Owens posting, "You stole a piece of my heart," in 2022. All right, so this is February 15th, 2022. This is when she still had full access to this account. This was her account. She posted this. And I know, like you all know, and she also posted at 3:33 p.m. If anybody else had posted this, she'd be all over it. But again, this is just one more thing. One of the other points of hypocrisy that she's not going to share with you. Another good thing right here. If you guys haven't watched this, I actually had this interview in, I think, early December. But this interview was with eyewitness Andrew Faraci. You need to go watch this interview. I have like a 10-minute version of this and some shorts, but also have the much longer full hour version of this. He was a hired photographer. He was actually accused by Jimmy Dore as being the guy that he said he had a gun in his camera and he shot Charlie. There's a lot of good information that came out of this interview. So make sure you guys go watch that. I need to get him back on. What I'd like to do, we've had 3 or 4 eyewitnesses on the show, and we've interviewed them individually. I'd like to get them back on as a group and just kind of have a panel and maybe get some more. And folks, anybody out there, if you know anybody that was an eyewitness to the Charlie Kirk assassination, have them reach out to me. I'd like to interview them. I've talked to at least 8. No, it's more than that now. But I've talked about 10 to a dozen people that were eyewitnesses. I would like many, many more. I think there's no better account of what's going on than obviously somebody that was there. And there's lots of other things that, and what's crazy to me, I'll just tell you straight up that almost every single one of these, outside of like minor details that are really immaterial, all of these people have said the exact same thing. And I also think it's odd that, Candace hasn't had any eyewitnesses on. There's a reason for that, because what they say lines up exactly with what we know, the official narrative. And, just so you guys know, that's where I was. It wasn't until after I went to UVU and I did talk to several eyewitnesses that I had kind of all the time that I put it into this. We had the charging documents come out. I looked at what's going on. I went into this skeptical to objective, somewhere in between there with what we were being told. And I was ready to accept anything. And we've had multiple people come on, present additional theories. But after probably about a week after I had about a week after going to UVU and seeing what was going on with that and talking to multiple eyewitnesses there on the ground. After putting it all together, it's like, all right, I mean, here's the facts. Here's the evidence that we have. All the evidence suggests to Tyler Robinson and the story that we're being told. Now, I am willing always with new information. I'll be the first to get it out there. If I get somebody on here that shows me some evidence, some facts, says all of that is a lie, you guys, I will be out there just as vigorously fighting for that as anything else. But what you're not going to get me to do is to participate in mental illness and say, hey, reject all of this evidence. Over 1,300 pieces of evidence, by the way, that we know about, from the charging documents, among other things. Reject all that and believe this thing that not only has no evidence to support it, it's just something that we came up with. We think it's a theory. We have no evidence to support it. There's other things that contradict that. You should believe this. But that being said, somebody comes to me and says, hey, look, this is what's going on. You give me some evidence. I'll be out there. I don't care if it was the Trump administration. I don't care if it was Israel. I don't care if it was the French, the Greeks. I don't care who it is. I would be the first to say, hey, this is what makes the most sense because we have the most amount of evidence to back this up. But that's not where we're at. And a couple weeks after UVU, I was like, all right, this is where we're at. I've looked at this every which way. I've looked at hundreds of hours of video, a lot of the same video over and over and over again, trying to interpret that stuff. It wasn't the camera gun. It wasn't the palm gun. It wasn't the iPhone gun. It wasn't flying drones. It wasn't the tunnel underneath Charlie. It wasn't, you name it. The Bushman up on the balcony, all the crazy theories that came out that are just easily debunked. And yet people still believe them. I was just talking with somebody today. I still get people in my comments saying that Charlie's still alive, that this was all faked. That was another big thing going on, that it was a hologram. That was, it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. Where are we at here? All right, Truth Rising, you said this a couple times. You should have me on. My son's aunt is in the Epstein files and has me really upset. Gary, put me on the show. All right. Send me an email. Tell me what you want to talk about. Give me an outline of what you want to talk about. I'll probably give you a call and we'll see if it makes sense. I have no problem with that. That being said, number one, again, any eyewitnesses, anybody that knows, they're welcome to come on my show. I'd love to hear the story. The other thing, you want to debate me and talk about why Candace is right or any other theory is correct, you're welcome to come on my show. We will have a friendly, respectful discussion about the facts of the case. That's what we'll do. Happy to do that. Anytime. Send me an email, Truth Rising, dlpodcast@paramountactical.com. We'll talk about it. Yeah, Epstein's still alive. Look, I would buy Epstein still alive way over I would buy, Charlie Kirk still alive. I don't think Epstein's still alive, but there is no exit wound. I don't know what the question is here, Ken. We've talked about that 100,000 times. We've talked about ballistics. Here's what I'll tell you this. For those of you that know Chris Leish, Dana Leisch's husband, he and I have been talking. I actually want to get him on the show. That'd be fun to have him on. Let me see. I just posted something recently. Am I sharing this? No. Hold on. Let me actually put this up there. We'll get this right. All right. So right here is on my X account. I know there's so many ballistic experts out there. Chris Leish put together a bunch of studies, an excellent post on ballistic studies of 30-06 specifically. And I reposted that somewhere. No, it was before that. Point is you need to go read that. Go find it, even if I can't find it right now. It's really good. So what it's I think I saw it. Here we go. All right. So ballistic facts and documentation on 30-06, but don't let it get in the way of your FUD ballistics. So I'll share this with you. High velocity rounds such as 30-06 typically produces perforating entry and exit wounds due to their muzzle velocities exceeding 2,500 feet per second and high kinetic energy, which promotes deep penetration. However, non-exiting wounds occur when bullets deform, yaw, start to tumble, fragment, or interact with dense structures like bones, transferring all energy to tissue and resulting in retained projectiles. This is more common with expanding designs like soft point or hollow point bullets, which expand or impact to reduce penetration and increase energy transfer. Factors include bullet design, impact angle, distance, tissue type, all lead to lodged, intact, or fragmented bullets without exit. The other thing that you need to realize too is there's lots of 30-06 offerings that are varmint rounds, and almost every single one of those varmint rounds are going to be some type of frangible round. All right, and that will also do all the things that we're talking about, lead to a non-exiting bullet. This is much more common than even I understood before this entire event. I definitely didn't do a lot of ballistic studies on 30-06, much less terminal ballistics. And quite frankly, nobody does study terminal ballistic studies. We don't keep this data around. It is very hard to find because people aren't tracking it. So, but what we do know is if you shoot a bunch, is that you have a range of ballistic outcomes, and some of them are extremely atypical. We know that bullets, when they hit flesh, do weird things. That's a fact. And it's not even weird. It's just stuff that we can't calculate and we can't see. You know, that round was slightly deformed at almost a microscopic level so that when it hit at a certain angle at a certain piece of tissue, it went in a certain direction. It franged. It was yawing as it was flying. There's lots of explanations. But what you can look to for evidence, and this was I wasn't aware of the ballistic facts surrounding MLK before this whole thing with Charlie Kirk went down. And somebody told me about the MLK situation, that he was shot with a 30-06 65 yards away. And he had very similar wound patterns and the similar terminal ballistic outcomes as Charlie Kirk. And that is true. Now, I know a bunch of people will say, well, Gary, there's all kinds of controversy around MLK, JFK, and everything else. I agree with that. But I went through tons, hours and hours of information on this. I looked through the different conspiracy theories. I looked through the different theories. I looked through all of the stuff that I could find. It is true that it was debated on whether or not the shot came from where it came from and the person that shot him. It was John, I can't think of the assassin's name at the time right now. Doesn't matter. The point here is there was a lot of debate around many different aspects of MLK. The fact that he was shot with 30-06 was not one of them. I couldn't find anywhere where somebody was claiming that he was shot with a different caliber. And what we do see with Martin Luther King is that he was shot basically at 65 yards away, almost exactly half the distance of Charlie Kirk. It hit him in the jaw, it ended up hitting his spine, and it deflected downward with no exit wound. Very, very similar. And these are the same people who are saying it'll take somebody's head off. Like, there's plenty of instances where that does not occur. Like, there's like this weird FUD myth that is now surrounding 30-06. It's ridiculous that people think what they think. And not only that, just like my pin post, which we can go to in a minute, there's no way we know nothing about the rounds that Tyler Robinson was using. We don't know a single thing about him. We don't know what type of bullet. We don't know anything. All right. We don't know the weight of the bullet. We don't know what type of projectile it was, whether it was frangible, soft point. We don't know. We don't know if it was store-bought. We don't know if it was hand-loaded. We don't know if that ammo was stored correctly, if it's exposed to moisture. The other really weird thing that when it's not as cold, I'm going to test, is we do know that Tyler Robinson engraved the casings. That's what's been relayed. What I can tell you is that if he started deforming or end up, I don't know what he was using to engrave those with, but if he started messing with the projectile itself, that would cause it to come out of concentricity, and therefore it would not be stable in flight. So now you have a bullet that's yawing in flight, and that would make a lot of sense to me because two things would happen. Number one, if that bullet was starting to tumble or was just in a less than nose forward position and it wasn't stabilized, that bullet would be out of a nose forward position. So therefore, when it did impact, it would create an atypical entrance wound, which I think that's what we see. We see a larger than normal entrance wound, which is why there was so much debate that it was actually an exit wound. It wasn't an exit wound. There was no exit wound. He was shot from the front. The physics determined that. Now, if that bullet was less than straightforward and it was in extreme yaw, one way or the other, it almost guaranteed would not exit. Now, there's lots of things that could cause that, whether it was because he actually deformed that projectile, or again, we don't know what else is going on with the rifle. Was that rifle, did it allow it to stabilize the projectile properly? All these things we don't know. So that's where we're at with this. But the point is, on this post, he actually lists a bunch of different sources that go through that. Not only they have specific where people have been shot in the neck without an exit wound, and some of them, by the way, lived. So this is much more common than you think. There was one that stood out to me. A guy was shot in the arm with a 30-06, 180 grade round, if I remember correctly, but regardless, it was definitely a 30-06. It did not penetrate his arm. All right. So it didn't have an exit wound of his arm. It hit his bones, basically destroyed his arm bones in there. But we don't have an exit wound, and that's pretty surprising. So there's a lot more instances, and this is more common than people think. And the problem is that we didn't start off with a good data set of this, so people are just going off what their pawpaw's rifle did, and it's just a bad way to start the conversation overall. But anyways, go check that out. Go read through some of the studies so that you can talk about this. And even if you disagree with me, at least expose yourself to this information so that you're going in with a full knowledge base to begin with. Lots of good information there. All right. It is now 7:36. Listen, folks, we're going to sign off. Let me make sure that I didn't miss any super chats real quick. Jill became a new member. Thank you very much, Jill. We appreciate you. Disney up, boiler up. Pat, I'd like to buy a tea, please, as in Mark 10, Team Ginger. Jocelyn 9945 became a new member. Thank you for the support. CRXN5CZ became a member. Thank you. Whoever Candace's priestess is failing miserably. Mr. Bauer 2012 became a YouTube member. Thank you, Mr. Bowser. And Diane Juski 8650 just bought a super sticker. So again, folks, we really appreciate your support. We appreciate you showing up. We will be back here in about 20 minutes. So make sure you come join us. We appreciate you watching. And until next time, and until 20 minutes from now, stay armed, stay ready. We'll be back here with Senate candidate Jim Carlin, and we will see you here in just a few minutes.